Hey there, welcome to the DFS build. Looking ahead at week 7 at DraftKings for NFL DFS. Week 6 was not amazing. Definitely felt the injuries. Hopefully you did not. Hopefully you cashed. And hopefully you even won some big money. Had some a little bit of success in Discord this week. So definitely come on in there. Discord is free to join. Come and join the party and we can talk shop and hopefully help you in week 7. First, I'm going to take an early look at the salaries. I have not looked at this yet. I do have the share screen on there, but I tried not to see anything. Just going to give first reaction, gut call, not really having updated ownership or updated projections for the week. There are projections there at Roto Grinders. There is some ownership. I don't trust either of those things just yet, but I want to just kind of take a Monday look at this slate and see where are our initial reactions here. And then later when things get updated, like Wednesday, Thursday, and we do our main slate breakdown, me and Taylor, what is the difference? Where's the discrepancy there? It's just part of the process, and hopefully it helps you out. It helps me out personally. So I wanted to start doing these videos to just get it out there so you can be like, okay, where do I stand on certain plays before we get into a situation where we've actually poured through all the data, we have updated ownership and all that stuff. So let's get into it. If this helps you and you like a video like this, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and come join us in Discord. And drop your comments below, your first reactions on any expensive studs that maybe you're going to go away from, or guys that are a little bit too cheap that you're going to be overweight on. All right, so starting at quarterback, let's look at it. So Patrick Mahomes is on the main slate. 7K for Patrick Mahomes feels steep, but I knew he crushed against the Lions last night, and he's crushed against the Jags the week before. Like, this guy has been on fire all year. It appears a healthy Xavier Worthy makes a difference. And this week, he gets Rashee Rice back. That could be something. I'm interested to see Rashee Rice's price. I have not looked yet. But honestly, like, on the surface, we don't know how owned Patrick Mahomes is going to be. He gets the Raiders, who have honestly been a pretty good matchup. So Cam Ward he was not able to take advantage of that last week at all. But I don't fear the Raiders at all as far as, like, do I want to play Patrick Mahomes? So 7K Patrick Mahomes feels not great. So there's that. And I do think Jaden Daniels, $100 cheaper, similar projection, way better spot against Dallas, who's been dead last against quarterbacks like all year. That might make Mahomes like kind of, overlooked. That's interesting. So my gut reaction is to just play Jaden Daniels there. Jaden Daniels at 6.9. His price hasn't moved. It's actually come down. We'll see how he looks tonight. I'm actually posting this video after the Monday Night Football slate locks. But we'll just see. We'll see how he looks and everything. He's got the knee brace and all that. But he ran the ball 8 times in his previous game. We'll see where he's at tonight. But Jaden Daniels seems really cheap for this slate. But, I like Mahomes too. I don't hate the price. Those two both look worthy of being spent on for sure. Let me actually organize this by fantasy point projection. So Jalen Hurts against the Vikings, I'm not really into that. Like, the price remains great. Jalen Hurts, we know, has a ceiling and has a nice floor. He's been more floor lately, but that's the nice thing about Jalen Hurts, like 19 fantasy points or more in even his bad games. I just think the Vikings are a bad spot. If I'm going to pay that much money, it's 100% going to be Jaden Daniels, or maybe if Mahomes doesn't garner ownership, he becomes an interesting tournament play at 7K. I have a lot of interest in that. Justin Herbert's price keeps sticking, like right around 6.4K, just has not been getting there. We'll see if he gets his left tackle back in this game. The Colts are not the most fun matchup, but they've kind of been getting into shootouts. So I think he's okay. The price hasn't budged. If you've been liking Justin Herbert, I don't see like a big reason to not like him, I guess. The matchup at home, so they don't have to travel. But I think in terms of salary and value, he looks okay. But if you're going to be paying mid-6s, why not just get Jaden Daniels or Patrick Mahomes? So I don't think I'm in on Herbert at that price. Same with Drake May. Titans are a good spot. Drake May's been great. I was really into him. I said he's the top play of the slate last week for the main slate, 5.9K. He crushed 25 fantasy points. I would not say that in this spot. I'd rather just go get Jaden Daniels for 600 more, or Mahomes if he's not going to be owned. DJ, though, Daniel Jones still just 6K. This guy just never sees his price budge. 22 plus fantasy points in 4 games on the year. We just know he has a nice rushing floor. We know he's been crushing even as a passer. So Chargers, that game has shootout potential. It does have to travel all the way out west, though. Never loved that. So I think price and projection wise, Daniel Jones looks pretty good. But still thinking I'd rather just play Jayden Daniels at this point. Bo Nix, 5.6K at home against the Giants. That looks pretty good. I do like that a lot. That's a great value. Bo Nix, certainly not exhibiting like a massive ceiling on the year, a couple of down games, but 29 fantasy points against the Bengals. That's the last time he had like a really true smash spot. And this looks like it could be a smash spot as well. Giants have been, at least inside that bottom 15, like the middle of the pack, bottom 15 against quarterbacks. So against a dual threat guy like Bo Nix, I would imagine. I mean, they did stifle the Eagles though last week, so there's that. But it's in Denver. I think Bo Nix at 5.6 looks awesome. That's a great price. Caleb Williams, we'll see how he looks tonight, but he gets the Saints. He gets the Saints at home. That looks pretty good. Caleb Williams at 5.8. That's a good value. So right away, like DJ's fine, but Bo Nix and Caleb Williams feel like better values if you want to save on this slate. Jordan Love, I have no interest. Cardinals defense is decent, and Jordan Love he's had one good game all year, basically. As far as like DFS is concerned, like look at this. Crush against Dallas, like who doesn't? Otherwise, he's been very meh. They spread the ball around a lot, and when they get in the red zone, it's all Josh Jacobs. So it's like I have no faith in over 6K Jordan Love. His price would need to plummet. Justin Fields at 5.7. The price is great. We saw last week against the Broncos. Number one, Broncos defense is just super legit, right? We know that. But Justin Fields has a just really low floor. When it's not clicking, it's really bad. And now we're getting into a situation where the Jets are winless, and they really will have nothing to lose as far as like if they care about losing or not. They could just start benching Justin Fields. So risky. I think the matchup with the Panthers is good enough that at 5.7K, Fields will definitely be on my radar in that same area as Bo Nix and Caleb Williams. I think those guys feel like better plays, though. I feel like they have higher floors and the ceiling is comparable. So that's probably where I would go. I'd kind of steer clear of Justin Fields a little bit because honestly, the Panthers, they did get lit up by Dak last week, but the Panthers, like on the year, they've been okay against fantasy quarterbacks, and Justin Fields is not a good quarterback. So I'd be a little bit hesitant for sure, but the price is good, projection solid, and we know he has a massive ceiling. Like when he's not only getting 5 fantasy points, he's getting 25 plus. So certainly a bounce back opportunity for Fields. He'll definitely still be in my player pool. Dak Prescott's a little bit interesting at 6.5K. Don't like the price. The projection right now isn't great. I would bet on the over on that projection because a couple of reasons. 3 reasons. Number one, Commanders are a pass funnel defense, bottom 10 against fantasy quarterbacks. So it's a really good spot. Number 2, he's been hot, 22 plus fantasy points in 4 of the last 5 games here. Number 3, their defense still stinks. So the Commanders are going to put up points. So you could pay $400 more for Daniels, which I feel is the safer route, but you could also just stack the game from the other side or go like Dak with like Pickens or something and then go get a Washington run back if you really wanted to. But Dak to me is still very much in play, especially if this projection sticks and people overlook him because of the projection and the price. It's kind of like Jared Goff a few weeks ago when he was against the Bengals. I don't think he ended up like nuking or anything, but it just was a similar situation where a guy was in an absolute smash spot. The projection was a little bit low and the price was a little bit high. But we can exploit that, especially if the ownership is going to be around, 7K, 6.9K guys. So we're actually saving a little bit of money for a guy who's coming in with a weakish projection that he probably will beat. So I do like that. I am not digging much else that I'm seeing here, though. Spencer Rattler, not really into that. Geno Smith has been very bad with a low floor. That could be a benching waiting to happen. I don't know if I really think that's going to happen, but it's possible. Jackson Dart, in terms of rushing floor, is viable. 5.2K for a guy who's flirting with 20-plus fantasy points every game and just going to be getting better and better. That's pretty interesting. But it's a road date with this vicious Broncos defense that's sacking everybody and just making everybody look stupid. Is Jackson Dart better than Justin Fields and Jake Browning and that? Like, maybe, but also I can see this kind of a crashing back down to earth moment. So I would definitely side with Denver's defense over Dart, but the price is nice. I don't knock that. Bryce Young was good last week. Jets are a pretty good matchup. They're not really stopping anybody. They did silence the Broncos. They only gave them 13 points in the last game in London. So there's that. And he's Bryce Young. So not super eager to play Bryce Young, on the main slate in week 6 against Dallas. Yeah. In this situation, not really. Jacoby Brissett, if he starts for Kyler Murray for 4.5K, I guess. Like Joe Flacco did well against the Packers defense, and Dak shredded them the game before. So maybe the Packers defense just isn't that great. I don't know. I don't have a ton of faith in Jacoby, but he did put up 24 fantasy points in week 6. So there's that. Don't want anything to do with Cam Ward ever again. He has been banished to the sun. Dylan Gabriel against the Dolphins. I suppose Gabriel, assuming we don't have to be concerned that he gets benched mid-game, the Dolphins are a great spot. So Dylan Gabriel was pretty good against a stout Vikings defense 2 weeks ago, 16 fantasy points. He's not really going to give you anything on the ground. So that's a negative, but he's only 4.4K against Miami. So I like that. Do not like Tua against the Browns. The only positive there is he is cheap, and you have to have success throwing the ball against Cleveland because they're going to stop the run. So not enough for me to really get in on Tua. I think if I'm gonna save cash, the early going here, I'm looking at Fields, I'm looking at Bo, I'm looking at Caleb. But honestly, this might be a spot where why are we not playing Jaden Daniels and just moving on? I think for me it's going to be. A lot of these weeks I've been trying to save it at quarterback, and it feels at times like I'm getting too cute with it. As far as floor and ceiling, I don't think anybody looks better than Jane Daniels right away, without looking more into it later in the week. That's where I'm standing right now. It's Jane Daniels or bust. And I think that's pretty obviously the chalk, and I don't really give a shit. That just looks like really good chalk. And if I don't want to do that, I think pivoting to Mahomes is the best thing to do. I think that makes a lot of sense. All right, let's move on to running back. Quarterback looks interesting, but I think it's also pretty cut and dry. Holy shit. Okay, Jonathan Taylor is almost 9K. Warranted, I guess. He projects really well. 26 plus fantasy points in 4 of his last 5 games. And what more needs to be said? He was going to hit 20 fantasy points last week, even if he didn't score late. He scored late in that game. So I had been saying, he's kind of touchdown dependent. It's a really stupid thing to say now that I think about it, because he just keeps scoring touchdowns anyways, so who cares? There's no C-Mac on this slate. Honestly, not a lot of running backs that I feel super interested in as I'm looking at this. So if you just want raw points, I don't hate it. I think it's okay. The other thing is, by the way, I think sometimes we pay, or we're looking at a guy to pay for him. If he can't 5x or 6x my money, what am I doing here? Yeah, kind of. But also I think there's something about security and floor. I don't mind paying almost 9K for a guy if I'm very confident he's guaranteed to get me 25 plus. And then if he gets me 35 or 40, that's just gravy. Then he really hit, because what if you get to the point where the rest of the slate, these other guys aren't even sniffing 20, and the guy you invested the cash in has 25. So I think sometimes getting just a safe guy, that is what you're paying for. You're paying for the safety. You're paying for the floor. And then if they can get you the ceiling, that's great. JT, luckily, is a guy who can do both. So I think almost 9K for JT is in play. But because of the steep price, I don't think he's going to be an absolute must. Nobody else comes close. Devon Achane finally got going last week, which is super annoying because me and Taylor went over him and said, well, here's the problem. He doesn't do anything as a runner right now. It's just all his PPR value. And of course, he popped off for 120 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. So of course, that's DFS. That's what happens. 34 fantasy points last week. So I'm not going to tell you not to play Achane, but I will tell you that the Cleveland Browns are who he faces this week, and they are number 2 against fantasy running back. So if there was a worse possible matchup, I don't think you'll find it. It's not good. So I'm not really eager to pay for him. I think Josh Jacobs at $300 less and $1,000 less than JT. That feels like where I'd start on this slate, right away. I don't know how good the Cardinals are against the run. I haven't looked. I'm looking now. Bottom 10 seems pretty good to me. So I think if I'm going to pay up at running back right now, Jacobs is probably the guy I'd be most interested in. To be fair, I'm looking at this with fresh eyes. I have not seen every other running back here, so that's the whole point of this. We're reacting on the fly here. Javonte, 6.7K. pretty reasonable price. The price has been ticking up every week, but like it still isn't really high enough. Like look at last week was not great. 8.4 fantasy points. That's a bummer. Didn't get in the end zone. But touch opportunity is 21. Like you can ignore a floor game like that when you know the guy's going to get like 20 plus touches, right? The problem with Javonte here is the Commanders are a pass funnel defense. They're very strong up front. So I'm a little bit hesitant to buy into that. Due to the price, he may end up being chalk. I just don't think it's like super smash chalk like Rico at 5.8 last week or Rico and Rashad the week before when they were under 5K. I think it's okay chalk, especially since now the more I'm looking at this, like running back, it doesn't feel that good in terms of like value. So he does look like a good value at 6.7 with a top 4 projection. So in terms of that, I think he would be good chalk. But in terms of trying to get different and looking for guys with like maybe a better spot and a better ceiling, I think we could go do something else. Barkley against the Vikings on the road, not super into that. They're very good against the run. I mean, it's Saquon. You can literally play anybody. Like we didn't like Achane that much last week, and he got 34. A few weeks ago, we weren't in on JT, and he got like 33. So like it is what it is. Like guys are gonna be in bad spots, but sometimes talent trumps matchup. So you really can play anybody always, but we just try to nudge you in the right direction. So not super in on Saquon. I'd rather play Jacobs at a similar price point. Genty at 7K against the Chiefs. It's just about the role. Chiefs are not a good spot. But Genty is going to get 15 to 20 touches every single game. He's got good touchdown equity in that offense. So if they're scoring, pretty decent chance it's Genty scoring at this point. So 7K for Genty, price only moved up $100 compared to last week. I don't like the matchup, but if you are going to stack like Mahomes and Rashee Rice or something, we'll see what Rashee Rice's price is. I don't even know yet. But then, yeah, run back with like Genty. It's not the worst thing in the world. Not somebody I'm gravitating towards as much as I was last week and like the past few weeks. This just doesn't feel like the best spot to do it. Rico freaking Dowdle, dude, 6.8K. That feels bad. I don't want to tell you not to play Rico Dowdle because he's been rushing for like 200 yards every game. One thing to keep in mind is Chuba could be back in this game. I don't see how you bench a guy who's been running for 180 to 200 yards every game. I don't think you can bench him. So I don't think Chuba is going to actually take his job back. I don't think he should. But he could eat into it a little bit. And then the Jets are not as soft of a matchup on the ground as Rico has been getting lately. Like Rico legitimately got 2 of the best possible matchups 2 weeks in a row. I think the Jets are beatable on the ground. So you could still pay for an almost 7K Rico. I don't think he's a bad play. Like you could certainly argue pairing Rico and Javonte and just moving along at running back. Like in terms of role, they're good values. I mean, you're getting sub 7K for guys who are going to get 20 touches. One of them in a more favorable spot than the other. But if you ignore matchups, they look great. The only issue is they're both shaping up to be probably fairly chalky, if not the 2 chalkiest plays at running back. So for that reason, I probably wouldn't play both of them. And right now, it feels gross, but I think Rico over Javonte is what I would be doing. Breece Hall at 6.3, like the projection dips significantly after Rico, but Breece Hall at 6.3 against the Panthers, that sounds pretty good. Like I don't really want to play Justin Fields that much, but Breece Hall does feel pretty interesting at 6.3, low floor too. The whole offense struggled against Broncos, but 21-16 in the last 2 games. We know he has a ceiling. And I think a reasonably decent floor in general and a good role. So I think he looks interesting, a little bit too cheap. Quinshot Judkins only moved up $100. He might honestly be my favorite play right now at running back in terms of value. Cleveland is going to force feed him the ball. They kind of like stopped giving the ball last week for whatever reason. They were down big at some point, though. That's probably why. But he'd been crushing. I think this is a big bounce back opportunity. The Dolphins have been getting eaten alive on the ground. Kamani Vidal just had like 122 rushing yards against them. I mean, I don't think I need to say anything else. Like that's insane. So Judkins looks amazing. I would imagine he'd get some ownership, but if he's not going to be like the chalk, he looks like a smash play at 6K. Another reason why I don't think we have to go play in these guys up top is because Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is another guy, 6.1K against the Cowboys, who are bottom 2. That feels a little bit too cheap as well. His price is coming up, but like kind of warranted. We don't know what, as I'm doing this video, I don't know what he did on Monday Night Football yet, but the week before he had like 31 fantasy points. So, and the role has been there. So, or it's only growing. So Judkins and Krosky-Merritt look really good. I like that value for sure. Swift against the Saints, I guess you could do that, 5.7. Dobbins against the Giants, 5.6. I mean, Dobbins, he's kind of splitting with RJ Harvey still. I'm not like super gaga about that. Trayvon Henderson, apparently they never want to play him. I don't get it. So that's not great. Nothing else I see here. Cam Scatterboo, 6.5K, coming off a crazy 31-point game. That feels a little bit expensive for a road date with the Broncos. I don't think I'm in on that. I feel like he's a good GPP play because there's anytime a lot of chalk is in a similar range of a guy with like, similar talent, similar role, I think you can definitely make that case. Like Javonte and Rico are going to probably be owned on this slate. So like I feel better about like a Judkins Krosky-Merritt with this logic. But Cam Scatterboo, nobody's going to be on him. And if there's one thing the Broncos have been kind of shaky against, it is against the run. And the Giants have no issue with giving this dude the ball, okay? 20-plus touches in 3 straight games. Even with Tyrone Tracy back, he had 3 rushing touchdowns last week. They're not scared of giving Cam Scatterboo the ball a ton. So not a cash game play, not a safe play, but I think in tournaments, Cam Scatterboo is actually pretty damn interesting. I don't really like the price or the matchup, but in tournaments, he could be very, very interesting for sure. Vidal is the last one at 5.5K, had a ton of touches. We still don't have a Hampton. Najee's gone forever with an Achilles. Vidal's like fully involved, like crazy involved immediately. 22 total touch opportunities here, 25 fantasy points. I don't know if he's really going to do that again. But and the Colts are not like an easy draw, but the game is at home. Indy has to travel out west. That's never fun, like way across the country. Hey, 5.K Kimani, it's not that bad. I think that's okay. That's not calling to me. The projection isn't very good. The matchup is not amazing, but I think in terms of role, like if we can expect that again, he is definitely too cheap. Nobody else really pops. I guess you could keep an eye on Alvin Kamara if he's like injured or something. Kendra Miller against the Bears. That would be something. I would not hate that at 4.9. Michael Carter. He and Zonovan Knight are splitting. If you believe the Packers defense is like continuing to regress, you could take a shot on one of them, but I don't feel good about that. Okay, on to wide receiver. Wide receiver is gross. Holy shit. Nobody projects that well. Lad McConkey, chalk week. If you did it last week, that worked out. 26 fantasy points against Miami. Guess who played Keenan Allen? This guy. Yeah, that only a difference of 21 fantasy points. No big deal. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about Lad breakout week forever. Then QJ got ruled out. So it was naturally they were the same price. So it was Lad or Keenan. Based on involvement and production, like I felt like Keenan was a pretty good call. And of course, DFS strikes again. It was the other way around. So Lad at 6K flat, still a little bit too cheap. Indy, not a great matchup, but he's the best projecting player of the slate. I don't think that's going to hold. I think this is going to update. Yeah, I don't like this at all. I don't think this is going to be legit. So this is the first. This is why I like the first look. Let's go look and see where everybody stands, what the matchups looks like, what the prices are, what the initial projections are. I would imagine like Lad will stay like right around 15 or 16, even though it's not a good spot if QJ is out again. So he's fine, still too cheap. So I do like Lad at 6K for sure. But Xavier Worthy at 6-1 against the Raiders, that looks pretty good. Roma Dunze against the Saints at 6-6. That's fine. Keenan, I guess, would be an interesting bounce back candidate at 5-5 here because he's cheaper than Lad, and everybody's going to be, recency bias. Everybody's going to be pissed about last week. So I think Keenan would be okay. I hate that George Pickens' price is up to 7-3, but I didn't like it last week at 6-8, and he went nuts. And Commanders are a pass funnel offense, so Pickens looks good. I don't know why his projection's so low. That I would be a little bit shocked if that doesn't shoot up. Ted's prices come up. I don't mind getting away from that. Jalen Waddle. Like Jalen Waddle in terms of talent and role, I think is appropriately priced to borderline too cheap. But the Browns are not a fun matchup. Like I don't really want to play guys against the Browns. I think obviously passing game weapons are the way to go, but it doesn't feel great. Like I don't like they could sack Tua like 10 times or something and completely stifle the run. I think if I was going to play a Miami player, it'd be Achane just because the Browns can completely clog all the lanes and he just kicks outside and runs for 80 yards or he gets 10 catches or something. You know, like he just feels like the way to go if you're going to do it. I just think I don't like playing guys against the Browns ever. And I don't think I'm going to. Debo, if he's good to go in this game against Dallas, 6.2K with no Scary Terry probably still, that looks really good. That's a little bit too cheap. AJ Brown, don't love it against Minnesota. Very, very cheap though, 5.8K. I don't think I'm going to allow myself to get duped by that. But he did get it going a little bit. 14 fantasy points. I mean, it's AJ Brown, man. He's got an immense ceiling. I think we can. If nobody wants to play AJ Brown against the Vikings at that price, I think we can do it. If he's gonna be chalky, I think I'll probably stay away because there's enough other guys. Ladd is only $200 more. Xavier's only $300 more. You know, Debo's only $400 more. Those guys are better plays, but you know, cheap unowned AJ Brown would be interesting. Chris Olave, decent matchup with the Bears. The volume continues. We liked him a lot this past week, and he had 15 fantasy points. Finally, I think he scored a touchdown. Could be wrong. Let's see. Didn't he? No, I guess not. Oh, well. 15 fantasy points without a touchdown. Eventually, that dude's going to score a touchdown. So Olave at 5.4. Price only went up $300. He still looks like a really good play. Don't have a problem with him at all. Sutton against the Giants, he's just okay. Garrett Wilson's banged up. Not feeling that at 6.5. Wandale. I think Wandale's interesting because he's cheap and we know he can be a PPR god. Now, I don't really like playing Giants at a high level against the Broncos here, but Wandale could legitimately get like 10 4-yard catches. That would crush. So because of that, I think Wandale is interesting at 5.4, just a PPR guy. Jacoby, similar thing. Not going to get as high volume as Wandale, but he'll be needed because he'll probably be trailing the Chiefs. So 5.5 for that. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Packers have not been great against number one wide receivers the last couple of games. So Marvin Harrison Jr., I think at 5.3 is a decent try. His main thing is not, getting open and stuff. It's like catching the damn ball when it gets thrown to him. So Marvin Harrison Jr. Did not get it done last week. He had a concussion, so definitely want to keep an eye on that. Not going to be interested in the Cardinals backups that much if he's out, but if he's in at 5.3, I think he's definitely viable. Matthew Golden, just because you never know, he's involved. 10 plus fantasy points in 3 straight games. He's getting enough targets. I hate how Green Bay runs their offense, and I'm a Packers fan. I hate it. Arizona's not like an amazing spot or anything, but he's an explosive player. Eventually, he'll score his first career touchdown. It could come this week. It could not. Who knows? Rashid Shaheed's always in play for me. Did nothing last week, but he had 24 points the previous week. That is literally who he is. You can get 5 or 20. Great tournament play, always. Freaking Patriots with Kayshon Boutte and who's the other guy that scored for them, and it wasn't Stephon Diggs last week. Can't remember, but it was annoying, very annoying. DJ Moore, when people are going to be all over Roma Dunze all day, I'm going to be interested in DJ Moore. Said that going into Monday Night Football. I think again 5.2K. He's definitely on my radar for sure. Let's see. I feel like Kelvin Ridley got hurt. Yeah, he got hurt. So A.O. Manor at 4.2K, he could be interesting. He did not very much against the Raiders, 5.7 fantasy points. Titans do not have a ceiling whatsoever offensively, but he could get all the targets in this game. Trey Harris is a little bit interesting at 3.3K. He did get 5 targets with QJ out. 6 fantasy points. That's obviously terrible, but he is a talented receiver. He is explosive. So if QJ is out again, we could see a situation where he gets 5+ targets. I like that. I don't mind it. Very, very cheap. very low floor, but there is a ceiling there. If we have Debo and Terry both out, we can look at the Commanders guys. Luke McCaffrey 4.1, Chris Moore 3 flat, Jalen Lane. I think they're okay, but certainly still pretty risky. All right, I think that's going to do it for wide receiver. We're going to wrap it up with tight end. We don't look at defense. What's the point of that? It's just stupid. All right, tight end. Trey McBride crushed last week. Packers have not been good against fantasy tight ends at all, so he's a good play at 5.7. Like he hadn't really been getting there for forever, but he'd also just been fine because the targets and the reception volume is all so good that like his worst game of the year is 9 fantasy points. Like if he actually scores a touchdown like he did last week, then he'll smash. And he's too cheap. He just is too cheap. So now that Jake Ferguson is the same price as him, and Tyler Warren isn't that far behind, like I don't think it's even I don't think it's a question. Trey McBride's looking like the best pay up guy here for sure. Tucker Kraft, Travis Kelce, they're okay. Under 5K, they're fine. I think Trey McBride is looking like the obvious tight end play though right now. You can always play Jake Ferguson because he's just a PPR god. Not really that involved last week though, but that's probably a blip on the radar. I would expect him to get involved again against the Commanders. Darren Waller against Browns, Dallas Goedert Dallas Goedert is insane. 29 fantasy points last week. I feel like the Giants are pretty good against the tight end position too, so that's surprising. They're just not really connecting down the field very much, so all this intermediate stuff is wide open for Philly, and it's just always Dallas Goedert. It's forever Dallas Goedert. So I don't think the matchup with Minnesota is very good. The Vikings are top 10 against tight ends, I think. No, they're more middle of the pack. Still, we talked about the same thing with Giants, and he just crushed. So it's honestly sometimes it's less about matchup and more about how teams play. And the Eagles are just kind of a boring fucking team, man. They're just kind of boring. And whether they don't want to or are unable to stretch the field consistently right now, it's giving a lot of open looks to Goddard, and he's feasting. So 4.5 Goddard looks pretty good based off of that. Based off of matchup and like other plays, he doesn't really scream to me, and like projection doesn't look that good. But in terms of how he's being used, I think he looks good. David Njoku is hurt. I don't know if they just held him out at the end because they're down by like 15 or because he's like legitimately hurt. He's actually really hurt, I think. So if he's out, Harold Fannin Jr. at 3.9 is going to look really, really good against Miami. Good matchup. I mean, Fannon's in play anyways. But if Njoku's out, then Fannin looks great. Mason Taylor is 3.4 still. He went from 12 targets to 1. I would imagine that rectifies itself this week against Carolina, who are atrocious against tight ends. If Brock Bowers is out again, we can play the Michael Mayer. We can play that game. 16 fantasy points, smashed at 3.1. Price has not budged that much. So he looks good again, even though the matchup is not amazing. Nobody else really. Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill. He did get a touchdown. He's not like super involved. He only had one run, and it was a touchdown. So you're taking a chance for sure, but he could always get more involved, and the Bears are a decent matchup. I think they're actually a great matchup. He's not a running back, but they're second worst against running backs in the league. So based off how he's used, I would imagine that would be working in his favor. So Taysom Hill 3K. I think it's okay. His price doesn't budge at all. But honestly, I think you got some punts here. Mason Taylor, Harold Fannin, Michael Mayer. I think I'd be looking at those guys. But Trey McBride does seem like the play at tight end. All right. I'm not handing out any official picks just yet because it's Monday. We need an updated injury report. We need to know who's actually out or in. We need updated projections, and then we'll look at ownership. And Taylor and I will break the whole thing down in a video just like this. So if you want that kind of thing, you have to subscribe to the channel so you get alerted to it. Or you can head over to Discord and catch all of our videos and our finalized picks that we drop into the Discord every single week. We also do MMA DFS, 3-0 on our MMA core plays last week, baby. If you play MMA DFS, come on over. We also do NBA. That season is almost here, and we'll be dishing out core plays for that every single night and also dissecting the slates. So you don't want to miss that stuff. Hopefully you like this early view kind of thing. If it's helpful, if you like it, drop a comment, say, yeah, keep it up. hit that like button so I also know in case you don't want to drop a comment. And then, of course, I wish you luck and thanks for watching.